All right, y'all. So as predicted, Mark Zuckerberg is now bending the knee to Trump. We've seen this with virtually every big tech executive asshole. They've done it. The heads of, the most important major multinational corporations, they've all bent the knee. We've heard story after story of, one owner after another making the trek to Mar-a-Lago and giving Trump directly $1 million check for his inauguration. Jeff Bezos did it. Tim Cook did it. Executives who in the past were more likely to be anti-Trump. They've decided, hey, I can't beat him, so I may as well join him. I'm going to hop on the bandwagon here. So what you're about to see is Mark Zuckerberg making an announcement about the future of Meta, Facebook, the same name, right? Or same company, I should say. And this is nothing but complete and total victory for Trump. This is the saddest example of pathetic tail between your legs capitulation that I've ever seen in my life. So let's watch and we'll break it down as we go here. Here's Zuckerberg announcing his new plans for Facebook.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created.
That's quite an admission right there. That is quite an admission right there. Because basically what he's saying is, so long as you have fact checkers, it's always going to appear like they have a liberal bias because it just happens to be the case that conservatives and Republicans lie way, way, way more. So it's going to look like, oh, you're unfairly cracking down on one side. What if it's just the case that one side lies way, 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 way more? So in other words, he doesn't like the outcome of having fact checkers. So he's like, hey, Trump won the election. I'm trying to stay on his good side. We're going to get rid of fact checkers. And also we're going to embrace free speech because this is the era of free speech. More on that in a minute, because nobody, and I mean nobody, has been more hostile to freedom of speech than Donald Trump and the Republicans. Nobody. So that's the part of this that sticks in my craw that it drives me crazy. This idea of like, bro, we're going to embrace more free speech because Trump is like more free speech and stuff, bro. Oh my God. I'm going to shove my nipples in a meat grinder. What are you talking about? He's the most censorious man on the planet. All right, let's keep going.
So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
Which, by the way, so you crack down on those topics to begin with. I know on Threads, they really either don't allow political talk or really deprioritize it. It takes you till now to realize, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't put our thumb on the scale and completely eliminate entire swaths of conversations. But notice the exact issues he picked to bring up. What was it? Immigration and gender? That's literally just a wink and a nod to the right. Like, yeah, be as transphobic as you want and shit on immigrants as much as you want.
Restrictions on topics like immigration and gender.
Yeah, immigration and gender. That's basically like, hey, right-wingers, be as psycho as you want to be on our platform, and it's all hunky-dory. Trump won the election. We're not trying to fight this shit at all. We're hopping on the bandwagon. We're right there with you. Again, this really proves that Trump winning this last election by 1.5 percentage points, which is ultimately not much at all. Everybody's reaction to that, you're seeing either full capitulation from many, like Mark Zuckerberg, or semi-capitulation from many. And so people are just giving up and going, well, I guess this is the Trump era. And they're assuming he's actually more popular than he is and that he's more correct about stuff than he is. And so everybody's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm just gonna go along to get along. That's what you're witnessing here. That's what you're witnessing here.
That are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms.
Yeah, conservatives dominate the media online, yet they somehow cry victim and play victim, and here you have Mark Zuckerberg feeding into that narrative. Like, yeah, you guys are the victim.
We're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower-severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down.
And I should point out, Facebook, like last week, announced they're like rolling out AI pages, and they're going to just pretend like they're real, and you can engage with totally fake accounts. And this idea got so much backlash so quickly, basically like capitulating to the idea that Facebook is just nothing but AI slop now across the board, right? You've seen those pictures of some woman saying, "Find me husband," and it's like she's got legs that go straight into her head, and you're sitting there like, what the fuck is this? It's because so much of this stuff on Facebook is just completely AI generated. And he announced it as if it was a good thing, like, yeah, we're going to allow more AI content. And it's like, there's going to be no actual human beings on your fucking website anymore. So I point that out to tell you, this is the man this is this guy's judgment, right? He thought it was a good idea to just like proudly announce we're going to allow more AI stuff on Facebook. And it's like, everybody wants the opposite of that. And so here he is, bending the knee and caving and cucking himself to the right over and over and over.
Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas.
I mean, what else is there to say, right? If you were unsure what he was doing up until this point, I can understand it, right? But at this point right here, oh, this is like everybody and their mother's got to understand what's going on. This is him saying, he's literally just trying to say, I'll be like Elon. I'll be a right-winger. I'll leave California and go to Texas. Will that make you guys trust us more? That's what he's doing. Oh, we're going to do content review in Texas, not California, because, in Texas, their sensibilities are more normal. Like, that's the idea that he's going for here. This is brazen, man. This is like complete and utter capitulation in a way that's so embarrassing. Such like a rank business decision here.
As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend...
By the way, notice he didn't even mention Israel, who's like number one when it comes to censorship. Not even a mention of Israel.
...is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it.
Trump asked various social media outlets to pull down posts he didn't like. He's trying to frame it like it was just Biden and the Democrats who did it. Trump did it. Wait, I'm gonna lose it in just a second.
It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
So at the end there, he's like, we're going to work with Trump to restore freedom of speech around the world. In fact, here you have a Facebook executive. He went on Fox News and fawned over Trump's commitment to free expression while also virtue signaling about the end of fact-checking. Because, fact-checking never works out well for Trump. We're getting rid of fact-checking. We think that's a great idea. We think that's a wonderful idea. And Trump is so committed to freedom of expression, and we love him for it, sir. We love that Trump is committed to freedom of expression. Okay, this is the guy who just sued Ann Selzer for a poll that he didn't like. Trump sued CBS for how it edited a Kamala interview. He sued Simon & Schuster, the book company, for a Bob Woodward book because it quoted him directly and he didn't like the quotes. Trump threatened to de-license news outlets that criticize him. He wants to punish flag burning with a year in jail. He sued CNN for $475 million for calling election denialism the big lie. He sued Bill Maher for $5 million over a joke. He says he supports opening up the libel laws to crack down on speech. He called for jailing journalists who reported on the Supreme Court abortion ruling. He says he wants to deport pro-Palestine protesters. He gag-ordered the EPA from telling the truth on climate change. He charged 6 journalists with felony rioting. He said he wants to terminate the Constitution to get himself back in power. He wanted to invoke the Insurrection Act to go after George Floyd protesters. He wanted to shoot them in the leg. And here we have Mark Zuckerberg pretending and virtue signaling and go, oh, yes, we're going to work with Trump because Trump is so pro-free speech. He's so pro-free expression, bro. And we are too, bro. We're all about free speech. We're all about free expression. That's what we're doing here. If you were pro-free speech and you were pro-free expression, you never would coddle Trump's nuts like this. Never in a million years. Because he's the most authoritarian of everybody. By the way, I'm not done. Look at this, guys. So here's what Brian Stelter says. This is important context to that thing that you just saw of what's his face? Mark Zuckerberg. Meta is facing an antitrust trial in April. The company has lots of other business before the U.S. government, and Trump once threatened to send Zuckerberg to prison, quote, for the rest of his life. That's just some of the background for today's big Meta announcements. Today's changes almost seemed to be addressed directly to Trump. Oh, you don't say. Especially since Meta gave the exclusive to Fox and Friends, one of his favorite shows. Joel Kaplan was on the show and fully agreed with Fox's censorship versus freedom framing. So that really puts into perspective what's going on here. He's simply trying to protect his own ass, Zuckerberg is, and he's scared. He wants the antitrust trial to come to an end. Okay, so how do you do that? Snuggle up to Trump. Trump's a friend of big business. So if you snuggle up to Trump, give him some money, tickle his nuts a little bit, he'll be like, okay, we'll drop that, right? He's got other business before the U.S. government. He wants those contracts to keep coming. And he doesn't want to be sent to prison, quote, for the rest of his life. And so that's why he's doing what he's doing. This is so brazen. So this post really puts it into context for everybody. Zuckerberg removed fact-checking and added Dana White to the Meta board. Dana White. MAGA loser idiot Dana White. Bezos is paying Melania Trump $40 million for a documentary on Amazon. Again, this is pay to play. This is buying influence. This is, hey, we're cool, right, Don? That's what this is. Kevin O'Leary is trying to buy TikTok. ABC paid Trump $15 million to settle a frivolous lawsuit. Elon Musk bought Twitter and turned it into a right-wing propaganda machine. The MAGA media takeover is in full swing. And that's exactly right. That's what we're witnessing here. It's never been more obvious. It's never been more pathetic. From the Washington Post to the LA Times to CNN and their both sidesism and MSNBC and their both sidesism to this stuff from Mark Zuckerberg. This is disgusting. People are acting like Trump won in a Reagan-style landslide or an FDR-style landslide. He didn't. He eked out a victory barely, right? And so why everybody is being this dense is far beyond me. They're acting like there's no market for truth tellers who will be honest and who will hold Trump and MAGA accountable. There's a massive market for that, but everybody's running away from that. In the same way that the media in this country ran away from voices critical of the Iraq War during the lead up to the Iraq War and at the beginning of the Iraq War. The media didn't want to hear anything against the Iraq War at the time. You're seeing a very similar thing here. Everybody either fully capitulate to MAGA or semi-capitulate to MAGA because they think that's the only way for them to survive. No, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're shooting yourself in the foot. This is so transparent, everybody sees through it, and you look pathetic.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.